20 years ago, I didn't know what a teardrop trailer was. How many here didn't know what a teardrop trailer was 20 years ago? Ah, quite a few. So I'm not alone in this. So good. Well, I was doing a lot of other stuff. I grew up in a culture that really didn't go camping. I grew up as a little Amish boy that was on a farm. We had horses and enjoyed life in a lot of ways. And then we started working for someone else, and we farmed in a little bigger way with tractors, and I loved that. And I don't know exactly everything that happened as a little boy, but I started dreaming about things, and I got excited about things, and somehow I became a visionary that didn't want to just sit still and be in a little place. So I started moving around quite a bit, and I've been in many places, and I enjoy traveling, I enjoy cultures, I enjoy people, and I enjoy to be around you. So I'm a little bit groggy tonight. I was gone for 2 weeks and had a 10.5-hour flight home from Israel yesterday, so it's good to be back. But it was a great time. Enjoyed the 110-degree weather for a day or so, but then I had to get out of that. So anyway, as I grew up, my dad, he was a little unique about things. He let me do things that I'm sure people thought he's crazy, because as a young kid, you don't drive a big tractor. Well, I did. I mean, I could barely sit in the seat and push the pedals. That's how young I was. And I think that's what kind of propelled me into dreaming. And he let us do stuff that was just a little bit out of the ordinary. And I tried to do that with my children as well, and they've now done stuff that's a little bit out of the ordinary too. And I love to dream. I still love to dream, and I can't hold still, so I'm still building trailers again. As I grew up, people, and all of us as we grow up, by the way, how much time do I have? Oh, as much as I want. Well, you better not say that. I've been preaching for 30 years, so you might get in trouble. See, now I lost my train of thought. I get senior moments now. And as I was growing up, and people influence you as you grow up, and you're often not aware of it as a young child, but people influence you. And as people influence you, you start making decisions that, because of the influence of those people, it makes a difference of who you become when you listen to them. And I've had great people around me. So as a teenager, I was wild and doing stuff, and then in our faith, I became a Christian, and right away something changed inside of me. My thought life changed, and my desires changed, and I felt a call. I wasn't sure what, but I felt a call. I felt it was called to go on the mission field. Well, I've been there ever since. And mission field is not necessarily going abroad on a mission field. Mission field can be a business, it can be anything. And then I was called into the ministry at about 34, 35 years old, and being in business in that as well. So that's been my life, crazy busy. And so I'm trying to slow down. But as that happened, and we merged from farming into excavating, and as a 16-year-old, I was driving bulldozer and operating backhoe, and I just love equipment. And my dad and I would do that together. And we did that for quite a while. And then I started in the plumbing business, and I became a plumber. I really enjoyed plumbing. I actually still enjoy it. When I get tired of doing nothing, I'll just go get a pipe and start cutting and putting fittings together. Not really, but I love to do that. It's just something. It was my first professional job, and people ask me all the time, can I come help them and do this and that, and I really enjoy it. Yeah. So that was something else I did. And then we were raising veal calves as well, my dad was, and so I stopped plumbing, I sold that business and came home and helped my dad. And that raising cattle can be a real challenge, and it was up and down, and finally it was down. And so I had to do something else. And so I started building outdoor furniture, and we were pretty successful in that. And of course, me always looking for new product and doing things, I started building cedar arches, and I didn't have a good system in place as far as taking the dust out, and so I got asthma. really, really bad. Almost died one night in the shower. I thought I wasn't going to come out alive, and I just couldn't get my breath anymore. So that really changed the course of my life through my 40s. And I struggled with energy because I was a hyper, I was full of passion, but I didn't have energy anymore. And it's affected my life ever since. Now that I'm through that, but I had to change my jobs. I couldn't do that anymore. And now what am I going to do? And so I was doing this and that, and we were building some steel buildings in the wintertime. And this was in about '03, and I was building a building for someone, and his friend had financed him, and he was paying me. I sat in his car, and he said, "Joe, you need to build teardrop trailers," because I had a nice building. And I said, "What's a teardrop trailer?" I had no idea, I really didn't. He said, "Well, it's a little camper, it's this and that." And I said, "I'd like to see one." And so he showed it to me, or he told me where it's at. He had a lot, they were being made in Enan. And so I went up and looked at it, and I was fascinated. This is something nobody's doing in our community. And here's part of my problem. I would develop something new, because I don't believe in copying. I believe in inventing it myself. And lo and behold, somebody copies it, somebody copies it, somebody copies. Everything I made, it seemed like somebody would copy me of it. And anyway, I got so frustrated with our community about that, and I shouldn't have, I should just, but anyway, I said, I had something in my mind, I'm gonna build something that nobody else is gonna do around here. It's gonna be too hard for them to do, and it worked. So in '03, I was invited that, and this is how it started. I went up and I looked at the trailer, and I was so fascinated with it that I took a piece of cardboard and I traced it off. You know, I took it on the side of the trailer and kind of traced it off and took some measurements and went home and got a jigsaw and a piece of plywood and started cutting. And I tinkered with this through '04, and I decided, I think this is my niche. I think this is what I want to do. And disaster as they were, the first few, for that year, I think I built maybe 5 or 10 of those trailers, and my distributor, the person that was selling them for me then, was Little Guy. We were partnering with Little Guy. And of course, we started doing that, and I started building another one called the Silver Shadow, which was our first one that we built, officially built. That was a nice trailer that I really longed to still build. And so maybe one day I'll do that too yet. But as we started into that, things happened. There was some turmoil going. I'm not going to belabor you with that, but I had to go on my own, and wasn't prepared for it, and didn't know what I was doing, and things didn't go well. And then '08 comes along, and we're broke. I mean, I had nothing. I laid off all my workers. I had 0 orders. And the Little Guy and us had separated because of all the discrepancy, all the pain that had happened in between there. And in the meantime, Little Guy had changed hands, and by the name of Joe Kiko was on board. Anyway, it was September, about the end of September, and I had just come home from an Israel trip again. And I sat there. I had fired my salesman, which I should have never hired. That was my problem. We did not mesh at all. And I sat there not knowing what I'm going to do. I was deep in debt, and I had not much left. And so, as I was actually weeping, I didn't know what to do. I said, here was my dream that I thought, now this is the thing. And then it's gone. And then the phone rings. And the person on the other end of the phone said, "Joe, how are you doing?" I said, "Well, I just fired my salesman. I have no work. I have no orders. I am broke. I'm probably going to lose everything I have." And he said, "We got to talk right away." And it was the same person that had begged me not to leave Little Guy back when this discrepancy was going on. And so I said, "Well, I'll come up." This was Wednesdays, and I was up there Fridays. And my whole world changed. When I walked in there was 3 men in there, and business was tough. And there was 3 men in there, and we started talking, and I saw this one person in there. He was sitting, if I have a chair here, I'd kind of sit how he was sitting, but I can't sit like, but he was kind of sitting like this. He had a bill cap on backwards, and I looked at him and said, who is this dude? And so um, it happens to be our CEO today. He was not a dude. He was a great guy. It really hurts that he's not here tonight, Scott Hubble. And him and I almost instantly became friends. He loved my visionary. He loved how I dream about things. And he had the brains to do things that I didn't know how. And the moment I humbled myself and learned that you put people around you that are better than you in things than you become successful. And that's the only reason I'm standing here tonight and you're here. Because thank you. I let people come in and help me where I wasn't good at. And so this was in 08, fall of 08, so we had to have auction, and we sold the big building and we went back in our little garage, 40 by 42 garage. In 09, my dad and I started building trailers. We still had some parts, and somehow we got our debt paid off by selling our building and some of the equipment, and all our debt was paid off as far as our vendors that we were buying from. But I had no credit. I had to buy everything in cash. Well, I had no cash either. So how do you do this? Well, I would build one trailer and sell it and use the cash to buy more, and build another one, build another one, build another one. And by the end of 09, we were back on track again. And Scott had come in and helped me. And in the meantime, we were also training a person from Slovakia over in Europe. And they wanted to start building these teardrop trailers. And today he has a successful business, which is another great story of a dream when you continue to dream. And so here we were going, we started, and then little guy said, well, we have partnered with little guy, and they said, can you build me 450 trailers a year? I said, I can do it if I have the help, and I have to have structure. And so Scott would come work for me 3 days a week or so, and he said, now Joe, here's how it works. He said, you know how to build and buy, but you don't know how to sell. Let me sell. If I sell, we'll be successful. This is the line, don't go. I see a line here, it's like this green grass is here in the brown. You stay in the green grass, I'll take care of the rest. And it worked. And we had so much fun in 09. We actually built 457 trailers that year instead of 450 what they needed, which was a great achievement for us. And so we outgrew this little, it was a 4,000 square foot Apple storage building is what it was. It was a cooler, and it was a cooler, and it was a furnace as well. When it got hot outside, it got hot inside. When it got cold outside, one of the guys, Nate Miller that works for us, he was there. He would work in insulated coveralls, but we were prospering. We were just, things were going really well. And so we outgrew that place, and then we moved just across from where we're at in a 12,000 square foot building the next year. And next year we built 700 units. And the next year we built 1,100 units. And then in 2011, we acquired the Tab, which that's another story. It's pretty crazy. I was driving home one time, and I think it was like 07 or 08 from Indiana. I was driving home, and I see these different looking teardrops. They were bigger, and I was Amish at the time yet. I told my driver, we got to look at that. And I was coming in I-90 from in Indiana, and the next exit we turn around and we go back, and I take a look, and I'm just, oh, I got to build. This is a dream. I'd love to build these. Never dreaming or never thinking that I would build them in about 5 years. Well, the company that was building them, they were Dutchman RV, and this was a small part of them, and they tried to bring them in, it didn't work, they couldn't make any money, so they shut it down in 09. And then in 10, I found out about it, and I started inquiring about it, and said, yeah, they'll sell me the rights, and they have like $500,000 worth of goods yet that they'll sell me at a really good price. And they did like 25 cents or 20 cents on the dollar. So it was a win-win for us, and everything worked just amazing. So I acquired it in 2011. We started building it. We redid the whole thing and redesigned them and everything. Took all the wood out and put aluminum in so we don't have all these issues. we thought. And anyway, we just kept improving these things as we went, and that's been a real plus for us. So by the end of 2013, we were at about 1,700 trailers. But in the meantime, I have one son, and he was building barns, but I really wanted him on board. And my son and I weren't, you know how dads and sons can clash sometimes? Well, we did, and he's as driven as I am. So, you know, when you have two driven people come together, it can really clash. But I was wooing him back. I wanted him to be a part of the business. I wanted him in because I know what he could do. So and finally he committed to come. He had to cut his salary in half to come. But he saw there was something going on here that he might be able to help. And I'm excited today to tell you that he actually owns the business anymore. I don't own it at all. I gave it over to him in 2020. So that was really exciting for me, and it still is today, to watch him, and the energy he has was what I used to have, and it's really exciting. So that happened in 12 when he came in, and by 20 I had given everything over to him, and he's doing it from there. And then as we kept growing, one day I believe in treating my employees with, when we were actually in the old building in 09, things were going well, we'd work hard, and I'd say, okay, tomorrow we're gonna go eat dinner. It was just a mile down the road. We'd jump on a tractor. I had a tractor because I didn't have a car yet. I was driving horse and buggy, and so I had a tractor and trailer. We'd jump onto that, and down the road we'd go and just have a blast. And those are the types of things I always wanted to do in business. We need to have fun. We need to have fun. We need to work hard. That's one of the key things, our core values is hard work. But you also need to have fun with each other. Just give you a little story, a crazy story. But we were so crazy. And this old building there was a little pipe coming in the corner, and these sparrows would come flying in there and sit inside, and the guys would go with the staple guns and shoot at these sparrows, you know. And we got a few of them. That was what's fun. Anyway. But as you build that rapport with each other, it builds something, it builds a culture that actually can be pretty powerful. And so that was my goal. And so one day Scott and I think we had like 20 some employees, and we went over to the Speedway, and it was a hot day, and we bought about 20 slushies. And while we were driving back, he's past the land that is now the building. He said to me, Joe, we're gonna own this land someday. And I said, you're full of baloney. And lo and behold, I'm not sure, was it 13, I think, I called the owner to see if I could buy a few acres, because we were outgrowing our building. And he said, he doesn't really want to sell a few acres. He'll sell the whole thing for me. 14 acres. I said, okay, give me a price. He said, let me check. I bought it 10 years ago. I'm going to go see what I gave for it. And he knew my struggles and how I'm coming back, and we were good friends over the years. And he came back and he said, you know what? I'll give it to you what I paid for it 10 years ago. I said, sold. I didn't even think. It was such a good price. I said, it's a gift. To me, I said that. And so I bought the land. And of course, that was in 13, and then 14, we started moving ground and build the first building, and moved in 15. And as you grow, your infrastructure has to grow, and a visionary doesn't do good with infrastructure. So we were behind with our infrastructure, and we had to bring in more people. And my wife was our accountant. She was my accountant, and a great accountant. But as a business grows, you run out of knowledge sometimes. And when you can acknowledge that, you have to bring people in that have the knowledge to take care of what you were doing. And so we had to bring another accountant in that knew a lot more than what we did. And God blessed us with Cheryl Allshire. She's an amazing woman that has come in and just been amazing part of our team. And it was perfect. We needed her then, and she was the perfect fit. So that was another great thing that happened through this whole thing. And in the meantime, we're also building up our structure, building up how we can do it better, and we needed more people. And then we had to bring in a COO to help us get our numbers in line. You know, you got to keep numbers in line too. And so we brought in Nate Wagler a little later, and Jake Hirschberger was there. He's actually doing our running our shop, running the whole thing. And so those were some key people that we brought in, that came in, and it was because of what we were trying to live out. A culture that takes care of one another. And one of my dreams about having a business was to have the highest paid employees in the community. And that can be a problem. Nobody likes you when you do that. I mean, you get a lot of people coming after you. Joe, you're making it hard for us. I said, no, you're just paying them less than you should. That's part of a problem, because I don't believe in slaving people. I believe in blessing people. And it's always about the other person. And that's been part of my motto. And I think it's just so important that we live that way, because it's not about myself, it's about all y'all. And when y'all work together, we move mountains. We can do anything we want, and anything that comes in our way, we can accomplish that. And so I'm really excited about that. And so our DNA has become very strong. And when I wrote my mission statement in about, I think it was 2012, I wrote the mission statement for a company. The first time I'd ever written a mission statement. It was very important, because in that mission statement, it's about caring for one another. It's about producing a product that is not inferior, but that trumps all other products in a sense. That's what my goal was. Something that is on the market, because that doesn't have to be fixed all the time. Now, I know RVs are hard to build and not have a problem with, because they bounce down the road, and it's actually amazing these things stay together sometimes the way they're built. But I was determined to have one that is built strong. And so that was my goal. Everything I tried to do was always that way. And of course, then in about 13, we brought in the Cirrus, which I had built before back in 07, 08. I had actually built some truck campers. We did them all ourselves. We welded the frames together, the aluminum frames, and we did all of it ourselves. And so a truck camper was not that hard for me to consider building. And today it's become a successful thing for us, and it's given us another avenue, which, you know, when you don't have all your eggs in one basket, it helps you as the times get tough. So those were some very key ingredients that we pursued. And so we kept growing, and then we outgrew the first building, and we had to, in 16 we had to break ground again, and in 17 we moved into the new building, another 90,000 square feet. And that was just been a real blessing for us as well. And now we're ready to build again onto that, because we have to have some more room, because we're bringing in more stuff to do it ourselves, on and on and on. And so what has become our, I think, fundamental things of why you are here is because of our core values. Our core values, the first one is to care genuinely about each other. And that has to be talked about over and over again, because we forget. We're human beings forget. Unless you're reminded, you forget. So core values is a very, very important thing. I think I have a quote I'd like to just share a little bit. So we care genuinely. And then the other one is service over self. If you live with service over self, you will be successful, because it comes back. When you serve others well, you will be served well. You know, they say if you want a queen as a wife, then treat her as one, and you will become a king to her, because it's just the way it works. When you have service over self, I like this quote by Bill Crawford. He says, "To truly be a service to others, you must first serve the server. The ability to bring an enlightened presence to those in need is the ability to light a candle without burning ourselves out." And I think that's so key, that you stay fresh for others. And it's, you know, there is a key, there's a verse in the Bible that we say, love your neighbor as yourself, And when you don't take care of yourself well, I'm not sure how you're going to take care of your neighbor really well. That's how at least that's how I think about it. And so you always do the right thing. And sometimes you don't know what it is. What is the right thing? Some of my right things were this: when someone calls and has a problem with a trailer, this happened a few times. I took a few trips out. My wife and I took a few trips out to the West Coast with a trailer, just to bring it to someone that wasn't satisfied with what they had. And I think that's so important. Not that I'm better, but it's just something that I thought was important. And by the way, it did give me a little vacation time to go out west too. Why not? But it was the key thing. And I remember someone else, they had a problem with their trailer, and I think the person had some buyer's remorse, and she called and she was just all upset about it. And so I said, ma'am, if that trailer makes you any more problems, give me a call, tell me what you have, I'll bring you a brand new one. There was silence on the other end of the line, and she said, I've never heard anything like that. I said, well, that's who we are. And she never called back that she had a problem, or she called and we took care of the problem. Because I said, go to this certain place and call me, I'll pay the bill. And when we can do those things for each other is what makes the difference in the world. When you're generous, there's generous people all around that always bless you. And so it's hard work. And I believe in working hard. Now, in our age, most of us, we like to work hard in the camp, just being in the camper. Sometimes that's hard work, just setting up a camper. I'm pretty agile yet, and at 64, I can easily run a mile, and I like to do it almost every day because it keeps me in shape. Because I want to be successful even today in whatever I do. I want to be healthy and successful, and it's not about myself as much as it is about being in shape so I can bless others whatever I do. And that's, to me, what makes the exceptional. When we can stay focused like that, it's creating good habits. And that's when I break down, and a person like myself, habits are horrible to keep because we just aren't good with it. Because we always want to do something different, and that's really not the best thing in life to do. You have to create good habits. If I want good teeth, then I create good habits for my teeth, or I won't have good teeth. And it just goes on and on and on. And so there's lots of stories around here, and our culture is an amazing culture that we live in. Our team is an unbelievable team. I watch them and I stand in awe. I couldn't keep up with them at all anymore, and I wouldn't want to, but in one sense, but in another sense, I long to do that stuff yet. And I watch them with just the ability and how they do things and how we've trained them and helped them to become that. And the other thing that I think is so important is for us we try to create entrepreneurs. And somebody told me, Joe, that doesn't work. That's stupid. Then you're going to lose your good workers. And I said, no, maybe we will, but then we'll get another good one. And we've done that. I love once I hear someone, they're going to go on their own. They're going to now try to fulfill their dream. If I can be a step in that, if we can be a step in that, that's exactly what I want to be and who I want to be. And so now that I'm past my flourishing young age, I'm enjoying life in a little different way. Of course, I started another business. After 2 years of retirement, I was going nuts, and I said, I got to do something. I'm just going in circles all the time. So I'm building cargo trailers now. It's something new, something that nobody else has built. So we're having fun sometimes, anyway. So one of my key stories, I think that in the 90s, 1991, I had a privilege to take a trip around the world, to go to India, and we were going 28 days. I had a 4-month-old daughter, and that's how crazy I was. I don't know if I'd do that again, or even recommend it. But we were going 28 days, and we took a trip around the world, and I think that was, that something happened when I was doing that. I looked at all the cultures. I looked at tremendous poverty. I watched people on the streets of Calcutta that I cried. I got to see Mother Teresa and shake her hand inside her compound, which to me was an honor. I got to see the Taj Mahal, which was a beautiful marble building that's one of the 7 wonders of the world. And you know, and all, there's so much I got to see and learn on that trip. And that to me was one of the places or the points that helped me have the whatever guts, I think, to jump into things and not be afraid. And so I encourage each one of you at any age, doesn't matter how old you are, when you're confronted with something or when something comes up, what you've learned back here will actually kick in and help you accomplish even that today. So my encouragement to all of us is enjoy what you're doing today. And I get to go to Israel once, twice, 3 times a year if I want to do trips. I take tours over there, and it's amazing. And what's amazing is you learn a new culture, a few new cultures. You look at life completely different. And that's what you guys do when you're out. You do the same thing. Some of you spend how much time in your campers, and you see all these people and different parts of the country and all of that. It's what changes lives. So enjoy it. Enjoy it and bring life to someone, whoever you meet. That's what changes the world. And if we can be partners together in that, we slowly change the world. And we think the world is getting worse. In some ways it is, in other ways it's getting better, because every person that brings life to someone else is making the world a little better. And I could give you statistics, which I won't do. So I hope you can enjoy our the trailers that you have. I hope they work well. And if they don't, let us know, because we're here to serve. Service over self is really, really important for us. We want to serve you. Thanks so much for being here. May God bless you.
Thank you, Joe. And I must say, Joe's latest venture, the cargo trailer, I am a customer, and that's a nice trailer. If anybody's looking one, it's Sherpa Trailers. Well, guys, that concludes tonight.